Hi folks, I'm Kevin and this is Real World Natural Living. On the channel here, we do some outdoor stuff. We like to do some gardening and just kind of look for ways to get back to more of a natural way of living within the society we're in. So today we're talking about blisters and kind of out when you're hiking or backpacking, or if you're not a hiker or backpacker at all, if you've had a blister on the back of your heel or both of them, you know what it feels like and it's not very much fun. So last month, Joanna and I did our first overnight backpack trip. We went 8 kilometers out, we camped, and we came 8 kilometers back. And after the first kilometer or so, I started to develop blisters down on the bottom of my heels. And it didn't take long before they just turned into full-blown blisters with the skin ripped off, and they were very, very painful. I even had thoughts of like, how am I going to walk back the next day because it hurt so much, and it was really hard to walk. But I did come up with a few things that did help me, and I just want to say that I'm no expert. So if you do have a lot of experience with this and it's something that I don't mention or I'm way off base, please leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you would do or any advice that you would have. So the first tip I would say is to cover and cushion the blister. So you want to obviously put a Band-Aid, if you have one, over top of that. The big square ones that will fit like kind of over the back of your heel would be great. I didn't have those, I just used the thin ones. And then I also used thicker socks to cushion. You could also put like an extra sock or something thin in the back of your boot or your shoe just to kind of cover that. Some cotton. It sounds weird, even a feminine product would be okay to put back there to cushion it, because when you're out in the bush, you know, you have to make do with what you have, and if you have these blisters, you still have to get home. So the second tip I would have would be to loosen your boots or your shoes. When I was out there, I think I made a mistake and I actually tightened up my boots even tighter than they were. And I think I was thinking that then the foot wouldn't slide inside of the boot. But actually what happened was I think it ended up rubbing even harder on the blister and making it worse. So when I got to the campground, I loosened up my boots and it immediately felt a lot better because the rub just wasn't as hard. So that brings us to tip number 3, and I call this one the duck walk. Now you wouldn't want to walk like this out in public every day, but when you're out in the bush and you're trying to get home, nobody's going to see you anyways except the people you're with. And if you're hiking with other people and you have blisters, they're certainly going to be understanding of that. So this one is where you actually take your feet and get them out to 90 degrees or 45 degrees, and then you walk like that. So what that does is that relieves the pressure from the heel of the foot, and then it puts it kind of like on the side. So when you're walking like that, it just relieves that pressure. And I found that it was a lot easier to walk quicker that way, and I could it was less painful all around. Tip number 4, only walk downhill. Just kidding. Obviously you can't only walk downhill, but it sure is nice when you have those blisters and you hit the downhill and your foot in your shoe is sliding forward instead of having the weight on the back of the heel. It's a really nice feeling. Unfortunately, where I was, it seemed like there was a lot more uphill than downhill. So yeah. So tip number 6 is the final tip I have, and that is to take some painkillers, some Advil, some Tylenol, whatever you have to help yourself make that trip home easier. I did that right before we left, or shortly before we left. I took some Advil, and I do believe it helped me get home. And that is the key, is you have to do whatever you have to do to get yourself home. You don't want to be stuck out in the wilderness because that's just a disaster waiting to happen, right? So that's it. That's the video. If you'd like to see the video of Joanne and I on our first overnight backpack trip, you can watch that here. You can also buy me a coffee down with the link below if you like this content. And remember, the most important thing, folks, take care of yourself.